In the 1960s, pilots flying low over southwestern Libya began reporting something strange scratched into the desert floor. Thousands of dark circles, spaced with unnatural precision, ran in dead straight lines for mile after mile across empty sand. From the ground, they looked like nothing, just shallow dips in the dunes. From the air, they traced the skeleton of something that should not exist in one of the driest places on the planet, a buried river built entirely by hand. For centuries, the people who built it were dismissed. Greek and Roman writers described the Garamantes as savage desert nomads who raided coastal towns and vanished back into the wasteland. That story survived for 2,000 years, mostly because nobody bothered to dig. When archaeologists finally did, they found the first true city-state the Sahara had ever produced, a civilization that ruled roughly 70,000 square miles of desert from around 1000 BCE, when Berber herders first settled the region, through an urban peak in the first centuries of the Common Era, until its decline near the end of the 7th century. The secret was underneath their feet. With no meaningful rainfall to rely on, the Garamantes tapped into the Nubian sandstone aquifer, a vast underground reservoir sealed beneath the Sahara tens of thousands of years earlier, back when the region was green. Engineers call this fossil water because, unlike a river or a rainy season, it does not refill. To reach it without losing it to evaporation under the desert sun, the Garamantes dug fogaras, gently sloping tunnels bored straight into hillsides, similar to the qanats of ancient Persia. Workers descended through vertical access shafts spaced every few meters, hauling debris up by hand while digging by lamplight in tunnels barely tall enough to stand in. Water needed no pumps and no wheels. Gravity did the work, delivering it cool and clean at the desert's edge. Archaeologists have now traced more than 700 kilometers of these channels across the Fezzan region, an engineering effort that scholars estimate took tens of thousands of years of combined human labor to build and maintain.
That labor built a city that had no business existing. Jerma, the Garamantian capital, held stone temples, elite residences, and a population in the thousands, with thousands more scattered through nearby farming communities. More than 100 fortified castles, called Ksur, ringed the valley, guarding grain stores and the precious tunnel networks beneath them. A second major center, sometimes called Little Jerma, may have covered even more ground. All of it was built from sun-dried mud brick, which is exactly why so little of it survived the wind. None of this labor was voluntary. The Garamantes fielded 4 horse chariots and raided neighboring peoples specifically to capture workers, because digging and maintaining hundreds of kilometers of tunnels demanded a workforce their own population could never supply alone.
That same military reach made them essential middlemen. The Mediterranean world and sub-Saharan Africa rarely traded directly with each other. They traded through the Garamantes, who moved salt, ivory, gold, and enslaved people north in exchange for Roman glass, wine, and olive oil. And yet, strangely, biological studies of Garamantian remains show limited genetic mixing with neighboring populations, a hint that even as goods flowed freely across the Sahara, people mostly did not. The desert was a highway for trade and a wall for everything else. Rome eventually lost patience with the raiding. In 19 BCE, the proconsul Cornelius Balbus marched an army deep into the Fezzan, captured Jerma, and became the first person not born a Roman citizen ever awarded a public triumph back in the capital. It looked like the end. It was not. The Garamantes bent, kept their king, and ruled for another 7 centuries.
What finally broke them was arithmetic. The aquifer beneath their feet had taken roughly 500,000 years to fill. Over about 600 years, the Garamantes pulled at least 30 billion gallons out of it. A savings account with no deposits, only withdrawals. As the water table sank, the tunnels had to go deeper, which demanded more labor, which meant more raiding, which the kingdom could no longer sustain. Then, the world around them changed too. Rome's collapse disrupted their northern markets, and in the 1660s, Arab armies swept through with a new technology, the camel, letting caravans bypass Jerma entirely for the first time in 7 centuries.
Water scarcity, lost trade, and a shrinking labor supply arrived together. The cities emptied. The castles slumped back into the dunes. 700 kilometers of tunnels ran dry and stayed that way, buried and forgotten for over 1,000 years, until a pilot happened to look down. Today, Libya draws from that same ancient aquifer through a modern pipeline project supplying millions of people, pulling on the same finite account the Garamantes once spent to nothing. Whether that story ends differently this time is still being written.